What is up and welcome back, guys. Check this out. We got Project Daily and we got the Forester in the garage today. So we got the Forester in the garage today because I want to start prepping it for winter. Even though it is halfway through November, we haven't really had winter yet. So I thought it was probably time to get it ready. So what we're going to be first doing is we're first going to be working on this rust spot right here. So there's a little bit of rust right here. Typical Subaru thing. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be sanding this area down. And then I actually went out and got some paint that's been paint matched. So we have self-etching primer once I get all the rust off, and then we got the color, or the same color as the Forester, and then we have some clear coat on top of that. So that's our main thing today, is to get that rust done. There's also some stuff we'll probably be doing, probably not in this video, but next video, is we got some big, essentially rally mud flaps for the Forester, because we're going to be taking off the stock ones, just because these are kind of too stock for me, and they're actually breaking right here. There's one's broken, and everything's falling out, so I thought I might as well change them. And last but not least, we'll be putting on Project Daily's Old Winters on the Forester, because if you look, so those are the stock wheels, and Project Daily had the nice BBSs that we painted 2 years ago now. So these will be going on the Forester because they have the same bolt pattern, 5x100, and I believe they should fit. Some people put a 3mm spacer, but I believe that is just because they want some better fitment. I'm not too picky because these guys on Project Daily actually don't have really good fitment anyway, so that, and then probably, hopefully soon, we'll be fixing up more rust patches like this guy here, and then some of the chips in the hood, and maybe just doing a quick polish and wax on the car before it gets real cold out. We got the light on it, we can see a little better. So the first thing I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be removing this guy right here, because this is going to be replaced by the mud flap. The pieces that actually hold it together are falling out, and what I want to do is I want to peel back this bumper skin just a bit so I can actually get into here, because this is where the common spot starts to rust, is right in this corner. So if I can peel that back and then sand it all, or not sand it, we're actually going to just take the grinder and grind this whole lip off. As you can see, the paint kind of is chipping off, but this is typical of a Subaru right here. This is the big problem area, so we'll be cleaning that off. And then if we look back there, this is supposed to have rocker guard essentially, but since this car actually has 325,000 clicks now, there's no rocker guard. So what we'll be also doing is we'll be spraying the whole thing with rocker guard to ensure that it stays protected throughout the winter. It's just a couple push pins and clips, and we should have it off like that. So there we go. That actually came off relatively easy. It's because one of the clips was completely missing anyway, so there wasn't much holding it on. So the next thing I think I'm going to do is actually take this clip off right here, and then the bumper skin should actually be able to pull out. I'm thinking about just lifting up and taking off this wheel, because we're going to put on the Winters, and it's a lot easier to access, especially when we're spraying the rocker guard with this wheel out of the way. So we're going to do that quickly while I take off the bumper skin. And just like that, we have the wheel off and we have the bumper skin movable. So you're supposed to actually take off a lot more clips than just this guy right here. There's a little bracket thing similar to the STI has that actually like holds the bumper together when you push it in, but there's supposed to be clips where the tail light is. And it looks like the bumper was actually off of this car before, because once I pulled that guy out, the bumper was able to come right out past there. So we have plenty of room, and if we look in there, it's still black, it's all good. So we're only worrying about this edge and this guy right up. Now we're on to the fun part of removing the rust area, and what we'll be doing for that is we'll be using the grinder, or it's actually called scraping disc on angle grinder, and what we'll be doing is we're going to be going along here and then just taking it up to this bubble right there. Once we have that bubble all gone, that's where we're going to be priming and painting. And then we're probably going to be taking off just the whole edge here, just because it is pretty rough. Then taking off all the area here, and then some area right there. But surprisingly, actually, this rust is almost less than Project Daily in some places. Project Daily does have some really bad rust spots that we're going to be tackling this winter. Also, we're going to be just doing this little inside corner. It's actually pretty good under the bumper. There's a little piece here that's like tin, and there's a little tin piece. You guys probably can't see it right there, where my thumb is. That is absolutely horrible and it's kind of rusted away, but it's like tin and it's not really a crucial part. It's kind of like a divider. So I'm not even gonna worry about it because it's not really a big deal, and I'm probably just gonna end up cutting it off anyways. So let's get to grinding this. This is gonna take a while. To keep the dust down, I'm gonna actually be just holding the vacuum like right up to it while I grind away at it. So there's gonna be no audio because it's gonna be really loud in here. And then just to protect myself, I've got a face mask because there's gonna be a lot of particles flying when we get this. But it's gonna, as I said, take a while. So I'll catch you guys on the flip side. Enjoy this time lapse. That actually went a lot smoother than I thought it would. So we essentially have everything ready for paint. I just gotta clean it up with some lacquer thinner and just make sure everything is prepped, but it actually seems to be pretty good. So let's take a look. So what I did is I took the wire wheel on the drill and I went through the whole wheel arch and I took off any loose particles or essentially any dirt. So now that I'm gonna wipe it down with some lacquer thinner, make sure it's all good to go. So I will be spraying it with some rust converter as I usually do, just to make sure that everything where there's like this surface rust is gonna be essentially deactivated. And then we're gonna put a nice thick coat of rocker guard. Now let's take a look at the arch itself. So as you can see, this was where some of the rust is. It is now cleaned up. It's rust free. So essentially now we just got to paint over it. Same with right here, if you can focus. There we go. That's all gone. And then our big issue where Subarus love to rust, right in this little corner right here, it is all gone and it's nice and shiny metal. It is a little rough if we take a look. It's kind of hard to see. It's not perfectly smooth because I realized that that scraping brush actually can take out metal. Did not know that, but that's all right because it's still actually, I actually smoothened it off because there's a little lip here and there's no lip here. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be priming this. I'll show you with the primer in a second, and then we'll be painting this with the paint. And then this corner is the worst and it should be all done. Actually, the other rear corner has only got a couple things here. I don't even think I'm going to have to break out the grinder for the other corner. It was just this corner had a really bad issue with that. But before I paint, I will have to vacuum all this up so we don't get any dust when we're painting. I'll also be doing stuff with just like painter's tape and plastic and newspaper just to prevent paint from getting on overspray. So the paint, or the primer, sorry, you guys know what the paint is. It's just some color match stuff that I got. But the primer I'm using is self-etching primer, and that's because it's raw metal. So that raw metal actually, if you just use normal primer, won't work as well. Didn't know this about 2 weeks ago when we did, or 2 months ago when we did the bumper beam on the Project Daily, but self-etching primer is the stuff you want to put on raw metal. So that's what we're going to be doing, and what we'll be doing is self-etcher, 3 coats of that. I believe it's like 15 minutes between coats, and then half an hour before you put color on, and then a couple coats of color just to make sure it looks good, and then we're going to put clear on. This is the rust removal process. Now on to paint. So now we have everything prepped for paint. So I've got lacquer thinner to wipe stuff off. I got 320 sandpaper, as the primer asks you to sand the bare metal before you spray it, which makes sense. Improves adhesion. Also got my rust converter. So this is the first stage of painting we're going to do. So we're going to work on the primer and we're going to spray the rust converter in the arch itself. Everything is now masked and ready to go. So if we take a look, I did leave a little bit of area between each little section. So that's where I'll be sanding to make sure that the primer does make contact. But this was the biggest issue right there, and that's going to be fixed. Also, as you can see, I masked the whole bumper. It's kind of hard for you to see, but I left it so I can get this lip right here. And then over here, I just did the exact same thing. So we're going to jump into another time lapse because this is going to take a while. As I said, this process of priming takes forever, so you guys didn't see the time lapse of me going prime sand, prime sand, prime sand, probably 50 times. I just showed you the first prime on the time lapse, and then you guys probably figured that I repeated that about 50 bajillion times. And this is what we ended up with. Look, you can't even tell that there was rust there at one point. It looks smooth, and it actually is smooth. My last coat of primer is drying. We gotta let it dry for like twice as long. So I'm letting that go, but yeah, it's like smooth now, which is awesome. The issue I'm gonna come up with now is the transition between primer and paint. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to paint this surface as is, and then eventually I'll take it back and then spray the clear, and hopefully that will allow us to like smoothen it out when we do wet sanding and polish. But the stuff on the inner liner is actually still drying. That stuff takes forever, so we're not going to paint or put the rocker guard in until we pretty much have the paint done. And then over here is the same thing. We are actually pretty done. That's just tape, that's why it looks like that. But the rest of the surface is all primed up and ready to go. It's finally time to give this paint a go and see how good of a painter I am. This is really the first bodywork I've ever done that's like you see all the time. I did do some rust removal on Project Daily, but that was behind the side skirt, so you never see it. We will be looking at it because I know it's not working very well, so we'll have to fix that. So as you guys know, I'm kind of a perfectionist when it comes to stuff. So if we look, it looks like it's all gone, right? It looks pretty darn good on the camera. Looks like it's been painted and paint matched really well. Well, I'll see if I can get it on camera. It's really hard to see actually. There, you can see that seam, but there's no seam in that very corner. So what I should have done was I should have actually masked just the first coat of primer and then kind of like layered the primer off. So that's essentially what I'm going to be actually doing right now. What I'm going to do is I'm going to spray the inside while this paint is drying. While this paint is drying, I'm going to take my 320 sandpaper and then kind of scuff up the edges and make it nice and smooth. And then what I'm going to do is lay another coat of paint and another coat of clear. Then it'll be nice and smooth and it'll actually look perfect. Right now is perfect for the winter. I would, if I wasn't such a perfectionist, I'd probably leave it. But just because I want to fix it and I have the time to fix it right now, that's what I'm going to do. So we're going to first spray the undercoating, which is super easy, and you guys have seen it, me do it in Project Daily when we did the spring cleaning. So the rocker guard is all sprayed underneath now. Look at it, looks so fresh. It looks like it came off the assembly line. Looks great. So that is done. So I went ahead and did my crazy thought process, and I think I got it. I just did a little test patch here. So what I'm doing is I'm resanding where it doesn't make a nice smooth line. So here, and then there, and then I'm gonna respray it and respray it with clear, and that should do it. So I will catch you guys once I got this smoothened out. But essentially what I'm doing is taking my 320 grit and just going and smoothing it out, and then once that's done, I'm going to do a coat of primer, make sure it's all smooth, and then paint it again, and we should be good to go. There we go, check that out. That is nice and smooth now. So once we apply some paint from here to like here, then we'll be all good to go finally. So let's apply the paint now. It is finally time to do the last step. So the paint is all on there. If you look, it's pretty good. I'm happy with the way it turned out. I'm even happier than the way it turned out before, because before it had those little imperfections and lines, but now it looks all smooth. There is some, like, if you look, some sanding lines. I should have actually went up and used like 1,000 grit after my 320. But you know what? No one's really going to see that because it's going to be covered in snow all winter. And then maybe in the summer, I have a couple ideas what I want to do because this paint worked really well. So I'm kind of thinking of painting all the gray. maybe we'll see. We'll have to see how what the summer holds, but that might be an idea. So anyways, we're on the last step now to take the clear coat and do essentially 2 coats of clear coat in the same way we did the paint. I've been doing the exact same thing I've been doing on this side on the other side. So the other side is sitting exactly the same, and it is ready for the clear coat too. Also, the side's also got the rocker liner treatment, so that's all good. So onto the clear coat, and then we are done. There we go. We finally have all the rust gone, and it's painted. Check out that paint. That paint is identical to what's actually on the Forester. The color match was perfect. So as you can see, there's a little bit of like banding right there, but it's almost perfect, and probably with a good polish, a good compound, not a polish. Polish won't fix it, but a compound might. It's probably going to be pretty darn close. There's a little imperfections like on the bottom here, but you're not going to see that anyways. And then we have the whole thin bed liner, or whatever you want to call it, rocker guard. That's usually what I use. And same on the other side. The other side has the same thing done to it, so it's all ready to go too. There wasn't as much, that's why I didn't really show you the process. There was only this little tiny corner right here. But check that out. Check out that fresh paint, guys. And then as I said, with a good polish, it'll probably fix this banding right up. There's a little bit of like primer, but because there's no clear on that primer, when I take the compound on it, it will just come right off and be all pretty. But yeah, there's the paint. There's the fresh paint. So there is a little bit of orange peel too, but that can also be fixed with some compounding and actually probably some wet sanding. But this is the adventure car and winter beater, so I'm not too picky, but I think I did a great job for essentially my first time doing body work ever. But sometime you'll be seeing the Project Daily's STI rims on the Forester and the mud flaps. That'll probably be within a week or so, but until next time, peace out and stay humble.